How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There's a Bitcoin cheat code, and someone just found out about it. I want to talk about that, talk about what's happening in the market, because we did see the price of Bitcoin falling down a little bit below 51,000. Let me tell you why this is actually really bullish. I know that sounds crazy, but it is bullish that we are still at this price. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video to see future videos just like this one as soon as I make them, because this is a time in the market where you do not want to be late. If there's news, there could be news any minute, and the price could go up $10,000 for a Bitcoin. Other altcoins could pump 10%, 20, 30% in a minute. And I'm willing to pretty much jump out of anything I do throughout the day to make a video. Whether I'm watching a movie with family, I'm willing to jump out. So hit subscribe. Also, there is a link down there to Margex in case you want to trade cryptocurrency. I saw this drop, and unfortunately, I was doing some work. I was already making some videos when this drop happened, so I wasn't able to jump in. But as you can see here, a nice little bounce off of that 50,700 mark. If you want to trade cryptocurrency, Margex is a great place to do it. There's also the ability to trade Caspa. So obviously a lot of people trade Bitcoin on there, but they have a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, and they added Caspa on there, and it's had a massive move. I've actually traded Caspa before on the platform, so you can check out the link underneath the video. You get a 20% deposit bonus that can be used towards fees as well. So definitely check that out. There's no KYC, which means you don't have to put in a lot of personal information. You can get set up in just a few seconds. Now, the Nasdaq's down pretty significantly today. I think there are two main reasons for that. And this affects cryptocurrency because when the traditional markets are down, cryptocurrency markets sometimes fall down as well. One, we have NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. It's been the darling of the stock market, pretty much pulling up all the indices and growing to a huge valuation. That's tomorrow. And then we also get the Fed minutes back from January 31st, and people are worried about inflation and what's happening there. So that's spooking the traditional markets. Bitcoin just flipped bearish momentum on the indicator that we have, the HGAlgo indicator. And that's because we did have a pretty big drop from 53,000 all the way down to 50,750. Now, I will say, recently it showed a time to DCA, which was freaking perfect. I mean, like right at the bottom of this drop, and then we went back up. So the indicator is still working very well. Now, why did we fall though? Well, two main things. We did have some liquidations, people that were going too aggressively long. And then we're also seeing GBTC sell a lot of Bitcoin, thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. From what I tabulated here, about $200 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, we know that they're going to continue to sell Bitcoin. We know that they've said that they're going to sell, we know that Genesis has said that they're going to sell about $1.6 billion worth of GBTC, which causes GBTC or Grayscale to then go sell the Bitcoin. So there is a lot of selling pressure from them. We've talked about it before. It's short-term selling pressure. Now, honestly, I think the fact that we're at this price here today, that we're still above 50,000, is super bullish. I mean, the Nasdaq today is down 1.43%. We have Tesla down 4.5%, Amazon down 2%. We have big companies trading down significantly, and Bitcoin's trading down like the same amount. And this is at the same time that we're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars selling Bitcoin, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin being sold on the market. Honestly, the fact that we're holding above this level is super bullish. Like, let's scroll out here a little bit. What if I told you a couple weeks ago, that we'd be at 51,000, Grayscale would be selling hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin a day, and we're still above 50,000. That is unbelievable. And as I've said before, this trend line around $48,000, $49,000 is a big area that we want to stay above. This level, this $48,000 level that we came up to and saw resistance back in the end of the bull market going into the bear market, is another big area to stay above. We've stayed above both of them. We've stayed above 50,000, even with hundreds of millions of dollars being sold a day of GBTC. We've stayed above this level. And that's actually really good because we're moving into the bull market. We're moving into a time where sellers are going to be exhausted. And there are people just swallowing up more Bitcoin. We'll show one of them here in just a second. Michael Saylor just came out and talked about when he'll be selling Bitcoin. But this was really interesting. MicroStrategy market cap is $12 billion. S&P 500 new listing threshold is about $16 billion. If MSTR gets added this cycle, trillions of passive flows, including pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, etc., may all have a levered Bitcoin ETF in their portfolio soon. This is the cheat code. This is the cheat code where MSTR gets added to something like the S&P 500. They get passive flows, and we've talked about Bitcoin ETFs being approved and then possibly getting in retirement portfolios before. But this is another kind of a backdoor that could cause Bitcoin's price to go up, because as MSTR gets passive inflows, they would then have more capital, or they would have an easier way of raising money, getting debt to then go buy more Bitcoin, and then they would continue to grow. And Bitcoin's price would go up. They would be bigger. They could get cheaper debt. They could buy more Bitcoin. They would grow. And this is just like a flywheel effect. I don't know if they'll get approved to the S&P 500. I don't know what it takes besides just the new listing threshold. I'm sure there are other things that you have to do to get in the S&P 500. But it is interesting to see the possibilities. And Michael Saylor just went on TV and talked about when he'll be selling Bitcoin. Let me play this for you.
But let's talk about your existing holdings. As I mentioned, in the intro, now worth around $10 billion. You have paper gains of about 70% or so, which a lot of people would like to see that sort of return. At any point, would you sell? When would it make sense to take profits there?
Well, I've famously said I'm going to be buying the top forever. Bitcoin is the exit strategy. It is the strongest asset. So what we see right now is the Bitcoin has just emerged as a $1 trillion asset class. And it's alongside names like Apple and Google and Microsoft. But the difference between Bitcoin and the Magnificent Seven is Bitcoin's an asset class. It's not a company. There's not enough room in the capital structure of those companies to hold $10 trillion or $100 trillion worth of capital. So Bitcoin's competing against gold, which is 10x what it is right now. It's competing against the S&P index. It's competing against real estate, $100 trillion plus asset class, as a store of value. So we believe capital is going to keep flowing from those asset classes into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is technically superior to those asset classes. And that being the case, there's just no reason to sell the winner to buy the losers.
So he's never going to sell. And he thinks that Bitcoin is going to swallow up some of the capital in other asset classes. Something that's interesting too is something that just hit me. They talk about MSTR in different ways. MicroStrategy made 70% on their Bitcoin investment. And people think, 70%, that's not that great. Or at least some people in crypto are like, that's not that great. Remember, this is their corporate treasury. So the stock itself has gone up 5x in the last 5 years. But their corporate treasury has gone up 70%. Imagine if Google or Apple or Amazon was making 70%, if they made 70% on what they were holding in cash, right? There's no other option like that can actually provide you a return. This isn't their underlying business making that kind of money. This is an asset that they hold. So again, there may be institutions that want to invest that still have their underlying business, that still grow that way, but then they have this extra kind of boost. It's like nitrous, right, for their capital, their treasuries, or their corporate treasury that could give them even better returns. So I think that's really fascinating. They found a cheat code where they grow, they buy more Bitcoin, they grow, they buy more Bitcoin, and just keep it on that flywheel. Now, I want to cover some other really interesting pieces of news about how everyone's trying to get into Bitcoin, including Chinese, including US miners, setting up huge investments in mining. Some news about millions of people are getting access to Bitcoin here tomorrow. But I did want to pull this up. Altcoin Daily just posted about Alvara protocol. Now, this is cryptocurrency that I've talked about a handful on the channel, a handful of times. And I talked about how you can buy it with Tencent recently. I'll put those videos on the end screen. But I am super interested in this. I actually just had an interview with the founder, the CEO of Alvara, that I'll be posting here very soon. I'm going to try to post it ahead of Altcoin Daily's video. So be on the lookout for that. I think there's huge potential there. Now let's continue to move on. Chinese partnership to bring large-scale Bitcoin mining to Ethiopia. Chinese investment at Ethiopia's largest dam is creating a powerful new mining hub, still in relative infancy. So I saw this today and was really surprised by it. Apparently they're building a $250 million data mining project in Ethiopia. A lot of the money may be coming from China because a lot of Chinese investors can't buy miners. The country doesn't allow it, so they're going outside of their country to invest. Now, other countries are doing the same. Like, actually, if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, Marathon Digital has been looking at Africa. They believe that Bitcoin mining is, amongst other things, a technology solution for the energy sector, and Africa may be a great place to prove this thesis. He went on to add that Bitcoin miners can incentivize the build-out of more power across the continent by serving as the first customer for new power projects. So a lot of people talk about Bitcoin mining, about how it's wasting energy. But when you think about it from that perspective, like if you are a company that wants to build out more power, wouldn't you happily take a huge client that maybe is going to pay you $10, $20 million a year for your energy? Like, that's a huge contract that can help you build the infrastructure. Just like if you were starting a new company and you knew that you had some client already locked up that was going to give you a monthly retainer or give you a huge amount every single month, you'd be much more likely to start that company, which is how these Bitcoin miners work. They utilize energy that's not already being used, which is crazy. And it is interesting to see Chinese money is still finding a way to invest in Bitcoin, which I just think is fantastic. Maybe China will go and reverse their Bitcoin mining stance again in the future, but who knows? We also got news that 2.5 million new people are going to get access to crypto starting tomorrow. Post Finance, a Swiss post office bank, starts offering crypto. So apparently Post Finance, partnered with crypto bank Singam, is going to launch a retail crypto offering. This solution goes live tomorrow. They announced it months ago, but they're going to allow 2.5 million post-finance customers to start buying crypto. It's actually the 5th largest bank in Switzerland by assets, and they're going to start with 11 different cryptocurrencies, and you can take advantage of crypto custody, trading, and savings accounts for as little as, and you can invest as little as $50. That's pretty cool. You can have savings accounts that allow you to buy cryptocurrency. Really cool. I mean, again, I think it would be cool to have solutions like that all over the world where you go to your bank and you have $1,000. You say, I'm going to put $20 in Bitcoin, and they just transfer it over, and you have like a little tab that's got maybe your checking account, your savings account, your crypto account, something like that. I think that'd be awesome. And this is pretty significant. Like I said, 2.5 million clients, and they also have a good amount in assets. It's mainly a deposit institution, actually. They don't do a lot of loans. And they have 95 billion Swiss francs, which is about 108 billion USD in deposits. There's a lot of money coming into the space. Even small dips like we saw today are gobbled up. So I am continuing to accumulate more and more. I get paid in cryptocurrency pretty much whenever I can by different companies that I work with because I'm so bullish. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Let me know if you think MicroStrategy really does have a cheat code and that is the cheat code to pushing up the price of Bitcoin, having companies buy Bitcoin, grow, buy more Bitcoin, grow, buy more Bitcoin. I think it's really bullish to see everything that's happening in the market, and short-term headwinds are bound to happen, but the market's really strong. Thank you so much for watching. Again, you can check out the links to HGAlgo, to Margex. You can check those out underneath the video. Hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next.